Hi dear friends, I hope you can easily follow the topic through my presentation. In the previous presentation, we have reduced a semi-empirical mass formula and semi-empirical binding energy equation that we have developed to understand the nuclear properties. That developed equation includes the different nuclear models such as liquid rock model and shell model. Both the models can also be explained by the developed semi-empirical equations. You can see to compare the results with the previous the behavior of actual nuclei. We must find the minimum where dou m by dou z equals 0. So to compare with the actual nuclei, we differentiate the dou m with dou z and we will find the z minimum. Okay, for that we substitute a equal to n plus z, then n equal to m minus z, and differentiate and substitute the values of b also. Then we will find dou m by dou z, and we have got z minimum as equal to mn minus m1h plus ac upper minus 1 by 3 plus 4 ac asymmetric by 2ac a power minus 1 by 3 plus 8 sim a power minus 1. This equation we have got z minimum as equation 3.30. Then with SC equal to 0.72, we substitute these values into that equation. That is HC equal to 0.72 MeV and SM equal to 23 MeV. Then that equation will be approximated to Z minimum equal to a power by 2 into 1 by 1 plus 1 by 4 a power 2 by 3 AC by SM. For small a, we can neglect these terms and Z minimum equal to approximately equal to a by 2. But for large a, Z minimum which is less than a by 2. For large a, it becomes large, then it becomes Z minimum becomes smaller. F. For heavy nuclei, this equation gives that Z by A as 0.41, which is consistent with observed values for heavy stable nuclei. Then we will go to the nuclear angular momentum. We know that the coupling of orbital angular momentum L and spin S gives us the total angular momentum J. We have seen this in the quantum mechanics paper. To the extent that the nuclear potential is central, L and Z and therefore J will be constant of motion. Their concept means these L and Z and J are all conserved quantities. In the quantum mechanical sense, we can therefore label every nucleon with the corresponding quantum numbers L, S and J. So we can label each and every nucleons in the nucleus using their orbital, their spin and total angular momentum J. The total angular momentum of a nucleus containing A nucleons would then be the vector sum of the angular momenta of all the nucleons. This total angular momentum is usually called the nuclear spin and is represented by the symbol I. The angular momentum I has all of the usual properties of quantum mechanical angular momentum vectors. I square equal to h cross square I into I plus 1. You have seen this in the quantum mechanics paper. And Iz equal to mh cross, where m varies from minus I to plus I. We can also observe the nuclear Zeeman effect, that the splitting of the angular momentum. When we place the nucleus in the magnetic field as the state I splits up into two I plus 1 individual substates where m equal to minus I plus 1 to I minus 1. If we could apply an incredibly strong magnetic field, so strong that the coupling between the nucleons were broken, we would see each individual J splitting into its 2J plus 1 state, but no fields of sufficient strength to break the coupling of the nucleons can be produced. We therefore observe the behavior of I as if the nucleus were only a single spinning particle. For this reason, the spin total angular momentum I and the corresponding spin quantum number I are used to describe nuclear states. We will always use I to denote the nuclear spin. We will use J to represent the total angular momentum of a single nucleus. So we use I to represent the nuclear spin. It will often be the case that a single valence particle determines all of the nuclear properties. In that case, I equal to J. In other cases, it may be necessary to consider two valence particles in which I equal to J1 plus J2 and so on. And several different resultant values of I may be possible. Sometimes the odd particles and the remaining core of nucleons each contribute to the angular momentum with I equal to J particle plus J core. Each J must be half integral 1 by 2, 3 by 2, 5 by 2 and so on, and thus it's only possible Z components are likewise half integral plus or minus half h cross plus or minus 3 by 2 h cross plus or minus 5 by 2 h cross and so on. If we have an even number of nucleons, there will be an even number of half integral components, with the result that the Z component of the total I can take only integral values. This requires that I itself be an integer. If the number of nucleons is odd, the total Z component must be half integral and so must the total I. So we have developed a rule that for odd A nuclei, I is half integral, even A nuclei, I is integral. For example, of the hundreds of known or stable and radioactive even Z, even N nuclei, all have spin 0 ground state. The nucleons couple together in spin 0 pairs, giving a total I of 0. Along with the nuclear spin, the parity is also used to label nuclear states. The parity can take either plus or even or odd negative values. If we knew the wave function of every nucleon, we could determine the nuclear parity by multiplying together the parities of each of the A nucleons, ending with the result pi, either plus or minus, that is pi equal to pi 1, pi 2 to pi A. However, in practice, no such procedure is possible, for we generally cannot assign a definite wave function of known parity to every nucleon. Like the spin I, we regard the parity pi as an overall property of the whole nucleus. It can be directly measured using a variety of techniques of nuclear decays and reactions. The parity is denoted by a plus or minus superscript to the nuclear spin as I power pi, that is 0 plus 2 minus half minus 5 by 2 plus. So we represent the parity with the nuclear spin I power pi. Okay. Thank you.